What kind of person wants another movie where a nerdy person gets revenge for having been bullied?
What kind of person owns rats?
And what kind of person thinks this movie was good?
All this and more on Gory Storytime.
Warning. Gory Storytime is a horror movie review show by a son and his dad who thought that letting his 5-year-old watch scary movies was acceptable. If you are offended by horror or talk about blood and gore by a child, or if you don't want horror movies from the 60s through today spoiled, then there is a remote stuck in your couch cushion next to potato chip crumbs. Use it. And of course, parental discretion is advised.
Why? You didn't use any.
Shut up and start the show.
Welcome to Gory Storytime. I'm your host, Jason.
I'm his co-host and father, Craig, and let me quickly just answer those questions for you. We do, and let's see. Nice try, but you're going to need to watch and find out how we feel about this movie.
So go match those up. And this week, the final of the 4 Animal Attack movies.
Yes.
We are reviewing
Creature
the
features, as they call it.
1971 classic
Willard.
Willard.
Here's the basic premise. There's this guy. His name is Willard. He seems to have very few friends his own age.
He's awkward.
He's very awkward. He lives with his mother in a giant house that was left to him, or left to them, when his dad died. It's not fully paid off. His mom is sick and dying, and everyone that's ever at the house is either friends or family with his mom and not his friends.
Yes.
Like, it starts with it shows his birthday party, and like everyone is her age that comes to wish him a happy birthday.
And she's like, aren't you glad I invited all your friends over?
Yeah. And she kind of hounds him to kill rats that are out in the yard. And he intended to until he decided they were cute and wanted to befriend them.
So he did.
And everybody in his life, almost everybody, there's one exception we can get into later.
Yeah.
But most everybody is just a jerk to him.
Just the worst.
If he needs
The
money,
most
they won't
awful.
loan him money. If he needs his job, he gets threatened to be fired. If he wants a raise, he gets threatened to be fired.
If he does his job well, he's told, hey, you're horrible. If he doesn't do
His
his
boss
job
makes
well,
him work on weekends when no one else does. Keeps reminding him, hey, I only gave you this job as, a promise I made to your mom when your dad died. His dad owned the thing.
And the guy
And this
stole
guy
it.
basically stole it when it should have went to Willard anyway. And he slowly gets more and more upset about things. I won't get into all the list of things that happened to him, but
So now that you know at least the first 5 minutes of the movie, because that's all it takes for you to learn all of these things.
I mean, every scene you're like, oh, I don't like this person around him. Then he basically trains his rats because he becomes friends with them because he doesn't have his own friends, and hilarity ensues.
I mean, I guess
There's some
so.
funny stuff
There
that
is some
happens.
funny stuff in this movie.
And that's all I want to do without spoiling it. So why don't we throw it to a trailer so you can see what we're talking about.
Willard!
This is Willard, and these are his friends, Ben and Socrates.
I'm gonna have a big surprise tomorrow.
Willard takes good care of them,
What's that in your pocket? There's something in your pocket.
and they will do anything for Willard.
Joy.
Walter. Please, Walter, there's something outside the door.
My God, look at the rats.
You made me hate myself. Well, I like myself now.
You know my life has changed now.
Two things did it. One was a friend I had named Socrates, and you.
Where your nightmares end, Willard begins.
Tear him up!
No, Willie! No, Willie! Willie, no! No, Willie!
Willard is the one movie you should not see alone.
Wow.
That was an interesting trailer.
I mean, in case you forgot that this is a horror movie, that trailer really made you remember that.
Which is odd in a way, which we'll get into. But is there anything else you want to say about the basic premise before we get into all the other
Not
parts
specifically.
of the show?
I can say, before we go in depth and break down all the insides and the spoilers, it's free everywhere. So I don't even have to tell you where to find it.
Like if there's a streaming platform that
Isn't
offers
company
free
specific, I
things,
guess.
well, that offer free things, it's there. Free.
It's all over there. It's all over the place.
You know, there's
watch
there's
it
streaming
before we do
services that
that.
have commercials, so it's all free. It's on those.
It's on those.
If you don't want to watch commercials, it's on some of the bigger ones that are also free.
Yeah.
Anyway, but now we get into the real thing that this show is about.
Yes, indeed.
See, I say it every time, and people just don't listen. They're like, oh, we love how you review horror movies, which, I mean, we do that, but they're missing the point. The real reason we do this is to make tons of cash. And the way we do that is by offering our services, selling other people's things for big truckloads of money.
Yes.
So these are all real items that actually exist that you can purchase or use in some way, depending on what they are. And, you know, this is how we make our living. People back up a Brinks truck full of money. Still haven't got quite enough coins to have the Scrooge McDuck swim tank thing going, but we're working on it. But this week, Gory Storytime is brought to you by Unusual Pet Trainers of America, the training school for all of your less conventional pets. There are many dog training services and books for you, but what about your piranha, cockatiel, or hamster? Well, that's when Unusual Pet Trainers of America is for you. We can teach your pet to help clean, fun tricks, and even become trained to protect your home. Imagine the look of surprise on the face of an intruder when they're attacked by an iguana who feels no mercy. Unusual Pet Trainers of America, because not everyone's best friend is a dog.
All right. Going to them. And by Revenge Inc., the company that promises to get the revenge you seek on those who make your life harder. You tell us your traumatic story and we'll design the perfect revenge. Revenge Inc. does not engage in violence, so we will not harm the person physically. That said, it's amazing how many things don't physically hurt that can utterly destroy you. Revenge Inc. If you can't beat them, hire someone who can, at least scar their psyche.
All right. Now let's get into the meat and beef of the show, the behind-the-scenes information, as it were.
Yes. The surprise box office success of this movie would inspire a huge amount of animal-themed horror movies in the early 70s.
Which is funny because The Birds was before this, wasn't it? So
60-something, yeah.
I would say that
Couple
probably
years.
was more of a lead-in, but I get it. According to Ernest Borgnine's autobiography, the studio offered him a choice of either a higher salary or a percentage of the box office. Borgnine chose the higher salary.
All right. According to an issue of TV Guide released at the time, Ernest Borgnine had to overcome a fear of rats prior to filming. I mean, yeah, you'd have to do that for a movie like this.
Bruce Davison had a rat placed on his shoulder as part of his audition for the part of Willard Stiles.
Makes sense. The location for the Stiles family house is the Higgins Verbeck Hirsch Mansion in the Windsor Square neighborhood of Los Angeles. This was the second feature film to shoot on the premises. It was built in 1902 for Illinois' grain magnate Hiram Higgins at its original location on Wilshire Boulevard at Rampart Street. In 1924, the home's new owner, Howard Verbeck, had it cut into 3 sections and trucked to its present location on S. Lucerne Boulevard,
That'd be south.
just north of Wilshire. After the Great Depression, it fell into disrepair due to over 50 years of neglect. In 1988, it was designated Los Angeles Historic Cultural Monument number 403.
The house used as the Stiles family home was also later used in the films Witchboard from 1986, Waxwork in 1988, and Elvira, Mistress of the Dark in 1988.
Crazy.
Gotta love Cassandra. You gotta watch
yeah.
that movie.
Bruce Davison and Sandra Locke were dating in real life at the time of the film was being made in 1970. They never appeared as a couple in public because Locke was married.
Not great. Let's see. The scenes of the rats took upwards of 30 takes to get right.
Wow.
But it was worth it, right?
Definitely. This film was the first theatrical production from Bing Crosby Productions since its purchase by Cox Broadcasting in 1968. By 1971, Bing Crosby was no longer associated with BCP, which had produced a number of films during the 40s and 50s. BCP also produced the sequel to this film, Ben, the very next year, 1972.
Al Martin asked his secretary Alice to produce $8,000 in cashier's checks and cash for Walter Spencer, who's going on a European vacation, which amazes Alice and the rest of the Martin staff. $8,000 in 1971, the year of the release of this film, is equivalent to about $54,000, $54,037.93 in 2021. So,
I want $8,000 in 1971.
now in 2022, it would be worth less because money's not worth as much because things are so expensive. But, you know, hey, inflation happens.
The final film appearance of Elmira Sessions. Elmira Sessions.
The film's Spanish title is La Revolución de las Ratas, which translated into English is The Revolution of the Rats.
Sure. Sandra Locke was 2 years and 1 month older than Bruce Davison.
This film was announced as Ratman's Notebooks, the title of the novel by Stephen Gilbert on which it was based.
Oh, wow. The film's cast included 1 Oscar winner, Ernest Borgnine, and 3 Oscar nominees, Elsa Lanchester, Sandra Locke, and Bruce Davison.
According to Ernest Borgnine, during the filming of his character Al Martin's death scene, he was smeared with peanut butter to attract the rats so it would look like they were attacking him.
Huh. In the scene where Willard is threatening Martin with the heavy stick he used to kill Socrates, Bruce Davison accidentally hit Ernest Borgnine on the foot with it. Borgnine's angry reaction was real. Both men later apologized to each other.
When Joan gives Willard the cat Chloe as a pet, she tells him that female cats are good company. Chloe was played by a male cat.
All right. When Willard goes to the sink to add water to the rat poison, you can see the rat wrangler's shadow as he reaches to remove Ben from the center island.
And early in the film, Willard plans on drowning the rats, apparently not knowing that rats are capable swimmers. They could have easily swam across the pool from the island and escaped.
Huh. And, finally, Rotten Tomatoes is a website.
Yes, and the way it works, for those who don't watch every week, and if you do watch every week and you're wondering why I repeat myself, it's because there's a classic saying about TV shows. Every episode is somebody's first episode. We would need more people viewing for that to be true, but
Very
listen.
much.
Basically, though, it breaks down to they take all the well-known reviewers. Some
Indeed.
in this case, it's at the time for a lot of them, I'm sure. less new ones probably reviewing this movie. But anyway, they take them, and if it's a positive review, they count it as positive. If it's a negative review, they count it as negative. And then the percentage they give is the percentage of positive reviews. So if that number's low, it's a low percentage. A lot of people get mad thinking that they are actually like, what? You all right over there?
Yeah.
Anyway, a lot of people get mad thinking that Rotten Tomatoes is saying this movie's 40%, and it's like, no.
Because the people at Rotten Tomatoes might have a different opinion than the
it's
critics
not
anyway. It has nothing to do with that.
It's what the average critic score says.
Yes.
But anyway, they also have a section for people to vote on what they think.
And
For this movie,
the critics, only 52% of the critics said that it was good.
which is considered rotten.
Very
And
much.
the people have it at 37.
Which is more rotten.
These are people that need to be slapped upside their head.
I need an army of rats to do my bidding against these people.
Well, the thing is, these people, a lot of the critiques, and it's something I noticed, but I considered it a positive. It's listed as a horror movie, and it is. It is a horror movie after like an hour and 10 minutes of film, and it's like the last 15, 20 minutes.
See, but
is
unlike
horror.
Insidious, the first hour and 10 minutes was good.
Ah. Did you burn your hand? You look like you have a burn on your... Like, right there.
Oh, no, that's the scar from when I sliced my finger open.
Ah. Sorry, I just noticed, like, a weird lump on his hand. Anyway, I noticed this, and I saw this as complaints when I saw some bad reviews. It seems like an average... or not average, but it seems like a Disney live-action movie from the early 70s. The film stock, the acting style, nothing inappropriate other than it's like, hey, this person's being a jerk, which happens in a lot of Disney movies. Up until he sicks the rats on his boss, and then
he's
other
like murdered, right?
And you know, there's a couple of scenes where rats commit murder.
Yes.
But other than them, like, it seems like that. So some people said it just had a weird tone for them. But here's all I can say. An hour and 10 minutes in, we had to stop to go do something. It hadn't become a horror movie yet. And he couldn't wait to finish watching the movie because he was like, this movie is really good. You have to have patience with movies. I hate when people are like, oh, if something scary doesn't happen in the first 5 minutes, it's not a horror movie. It's like, no.
Some horror movies can do that and then also be good
The
the rest of
Birds
the
was
time.
very similar, and it took a long time before The Birds really did anything. And you love that.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what else has a lot of the same themes as this? Carrie.
Oh, my goodness, and Carrie is so
And
good.
Carrie is definitely a horror movie. Until she goes crazy at the end, everything is based
just
in
a
reality.
drama
It's a drama about a girl
woman
being
mistreated by everyone in her life.
And this is a guy being mistreated by everyone in his life.
So, like...
And gets revenge. I mean, there's a lot of crossover similarities.
And there's something oddly supernatural about this movie with just how much...
No, you can have that kind of a connection with a pet. You really can.
Okay, but with hundreds?
Yeah, but the connection was with two of them more than anything.
Yeah.
And even one of them was like, oh, really?
Really?
Yeah. And got his... Anyway, I'm not going to spoil the ending. It's a good movie, though. What was your favorite scene?
Well...
Or do you want to start with least favorite and then build up to something good?
Yeah, let's go least favorite first.
Okay.
So I guess, and this is very nitpicky, because I had to find something for this section of the show. There was one scene specifically where I could very much tell that these rats were acting. All right,
They were trained.
they were trained. Like
Well
these
trained,
were
well trained.
like these were rats playing different rats, and I could tell. I said it like that, but
What's the scene?
so, like, it showed it in there where they were walking across the board from the window into his basement or whatever. And I mentioned at the time, I was like, okay, except they're doing it single file. They're going one at a time. That's not like a thing that rats would have done because the rats didn't do it earlier in the movie going onto the island.
All right. Well, what would be my least favorite part? I guess the fact that they introduced the one redeeming character in his life fairly late into it, considering he works with her. Like they didn't.
No, I mean, basically, the first time he goes to the office,
you know,
he's
but,
like, "Yeah, I hired her
Why wasn't she
at the party."
Yeah.
Oh, because they hadn't met yet.
Right, but I don't know. I think that having one human on his side, but that would have probably changed the outcome because he wouldn't have.
I think we both agree
I'm
that this
trying
movie, we're basically lying to you
I'm
about
trying
the
to pick a
least
hard,
favorite things.
Yeah, it's not easy. What was your favorite scene?
Okay. Basically, I think my favorite scene was there was a scene where he was bringing Ben to bed with him to lay down and cuddle with Ben.
No, Ben followed him.
Oh, no, not Ben. Socrates.
No, followed him.
Yes. Well, no. So it was Socrates he was taking with him to the bed.
Right.
And
that
whatever.
It's not what he made it sound like.
It's not rat sex, I promise. There's a lot of that in this movie.
I mean, there's a lot of multiplying
off screen
rats.
at least.
Yes.
But so he's bringing Socrates to cuddle with as he falls asleep, and Ben follows him up, and he's just like, it's funny, honestly. Just like he goes full rage mode and freaks out at Ben. He's like, "Oh, I told you to stay in the basement. Stay in the basement next time," and he kicked him out, and the rat just left and went back downstairs. Like he had no problem with it. He just went downstairs, and he was like, "Yep, all right. Guess I'm getting kicked out now."
Yep. It's like when you're telling your kid, like, all right, go to bed. My favorite scene would probably be, and they showed the shot, like something happens to turn the rats against Willard. I won't get into all of it, but there is a glare that he receives from that rat, Ben. Ben literally slit eyes, just... I don't know how they got this rat to, like, the rat was mad. The rat was pissed off.
They, like,
and
took
the
his
rat,
peanut butter or something.
Like, literally reads a box and then rats him out with what he read. That's all I'm going to say. You got to watch it. But he glares. And when he glares, go back to the trailer that we played and you'll see it at the beginning of this episode. And it's great. So...
I mean, it's menacing.
It is.
It truly is.
You actually think, oh no, this rat wants to kill you. Like, that's some acting from a rat.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, on a scale from 1 to 10, what do you rate this movie?
I'm going 9.5 because it's such a quality movie. Like, the acting, it's that early 70s acting that all big movies were doing. So when you look at it and go, there's better acting now, yes. But look in the 50s and like we evolved into more natural.
This was the thing?
Yeah. This was right at the cusp of starting to get more natural acting out of people in general.
Definitely.
Where it seems more real life. Because the whole idea at the beginning of movies was like, well, this isn't real life. It's an escape. We shouldn't act like it's real life because that's the whole point. And people like it better now when it's like it feels like it could be happening to them. But it had a time, it had a place, and it works well for this.
Definitely did.
So I'm going 9.5.
I'm going to go... The only reason it's not a solid full 10 is nothing to do with this movie at all.
That seems fair.
So I'm going with a 9.5 as well. Only because there's possibly margin to get better with supposedly both of the future movies.
The sequel and the remake are supposedly rated higher.
And it's like, okay.
But you can't go into them going, prove it. You have to be willing to be open-minded.
First of all,
you have to be open-minded.
I am 100% open-minded to Ben.
Right.
It's
the
that remake.
Right, yeah, because we're used to remakes sucking. Let's be honest.
It's like
you've seen us.
You can't have
like we
20
liked
points
the
better.
Rob Zombie Halloween movies, but to say that they're better than the original Halloween would be ridiculous.
They're completely different from the original,
and they're not better.
They're not the same.
They're fun, but like
it's like apples to like good tasting apples.
What? Sure. Anyway, let's end the show by
on that side of the screen. You can look at the words that I'm reading. Fact TV channel 1076. That's where you can watch this show on Thursdays 8:30 p.m. and Fridays at 7 p.m.
You can like us on Facebook. And when I say us, what I mean is you can like Gory Storytime, which has been going up a lot lately, and actual ones too.
Like real people?
Oh, yeah. Like I've been contacted by people, which is awesome. Like,
reach out. Give us ideas for the movies that we do.
Absolutely.
You can come on the show and review your favorite horror movie if we haven't.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I don't mind trying to do some sort of guest situation. We've had guests in the past. It's been years, but we've done it. And, also like Fact TV's page because they live stream a lot of this stuff,
If you're watching this live, hey.
And if you're not, how did you hear me ask? Anyway, So the next thing.
Oh, Twitters. Did I say Facebook?
Nope, you haven't done.
Oh no, you said Facebook.
Right.
Oh, so you can go to fact8.com and watch this show, back episodes, other episodes of other shows.
Absolutely.
They have board meetings like every channel does, but they have content.
Yeah, a lot of people.
A lot of decent content.
Yeah, over the years I've seen shows come and go, but there's certain people that have done it for a long time. Yeah. And this is a good channel for that, and they're very open to like new ideas.
Yeah, I don't even remember what their show was called or who they were. But
I don't think I've ever pitched something and had them say no.
There were these three like funny fake news anchors
for a little while. Yeah,
those guys were funny.
I remember.
Go watch them.
But anyway, then you can also follow us on Twitter. I'm at Craig Jakes, all one word, all lowercase.
I'm at Jiggly Firm Brain. I only tweet things that he says that I find funny, both in or out of context, whatever I find funnier at the moment.
And check out my YouTube channel. Just look for Gory Storytime, and you'll find Juggalo Jakes, and you'll also find Fact TV. Like and subscribe to both of them. Give them,
indeed.
Because independent stuff. We're not making money off it. We're just trying to get people to be able to view our
opinions.
Yeah, that's it.
We're just trying to be seen by Rotten Tomatoes so we can be included in
That'd be nice.
In the rating.
We have got responses from a director once, and
I know.
And we actually got a shout out from a director once, a different one. So
one of them was like, "Hey, sorry you hated my movie so much,"
and the other one was like, "Hey, I'll pump up your show for you," and that was
exactly. Cool. So both were awesome.
Yeah. Anyway,
but
that's the end.
Until next week with a completely unrelated topic, I will be your host, Jason.
I'm his co-host and father, Craig,
and sweet dreams.